The thing is about functioning depression is that people think you're fine when you're not. It's the universe literally breadcrumbing me. So if someone's social media is really popping off and doing so well that they're happy, like, are you kidding me? Do you know how sad I was? What like good engagement even does. Like, it doesn't even correlate to success. So why are we focusing on it? If you want to be technical about growing on social media, you can, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be like a great artist. I'm just a girl in my 30s and just navigating life and also dealing with loneliness with being a freelancer. And part of that has also made me really want to kind of give up. And I don't know whether the loneliness aspect of it is something like I can handle if I'm single. Quiet on set. Hello and welcome to Going Places. This is the podcast hosted by me, author and illustrator Natalie Byrne, where I talk about creativity. I've been trying to bring this podcast back for so long and life got in the way. I think it's hard when you start a creative project and you're not like, you don't have the pressure of being paid or like a client deadline. So it's really easy to kind of like, as a creative person, the personal projects that aren't bringing in money just can fall by the wayside. There's only a limited amount of time in everyone's day. So that's what's happened to the podcast, unfortunately. If you do want to support the podcast, though, you can head to my Patreon. And I have recorded a Patreon podcast that is very, very, very raw and probably shares more details about like my mental health and what I've been going through. So if you want to watch that lovely video, then be my guest. I also have a bit of a cold. I'm recovering from a cold, but I feel good. But yeah, I'm a bit sniffly, so I'm going to hopefully cut out some gross coughing. So many people have been telling me, bring back the podcast. You're so great at creative advice. Like, come on. And I just have been, the thing is about functioning depression is that people think you're fine when you're not. So I feel like I'll just be real. I just didn't feel in the mental headspace to be showing up online authentically. That's why I've been literally reposting my old work. Like for the majority of this year, I've been having some real deep life shit as well as real tough questions about my journey and my creativity and like my business and where do I see myself going, and started to make some really massive significant changes which took me away from having social media as such like an integral part of my business. I've just gone through it, okay? The last 3 months, everyone knows I've gone through a major breakup. I've also gone through another breakup, and my mental health has taken such a dip this year, even up until a few weeks ago. But I feel like I'm starting to finally come out of my depression, which love that for me. But yeah, it's been rough. And also I feel like my view of my own creativity through this year has been very disconnected to this kind of like what feels like unhelpful positivity that is a run through for all of my work when I'm feeling really depressed. It's like, this is not helpful for me. Like, this is actually like the last thing I want to hear right now, my own work. And so I've been kind of creating work that I don't even feel comfortable sharing yet, because I think when you're so fresh going through something, I don't want to make the same mistake I've made before by sharing something when I'm so deep in a situation and I'm still trying to figure out how to talk about certain things in a way that feels like a conclusion. I just want a space to kind of like talk about creativity, get excited about creativity again, which I'm struggling with this year, which is, one of the signs of depression, that you don't love the things that you usually love. And so much of the podcasts I really like blend like creativity as well as like life things like together, because I think so much of that is intertwined. And then also I want to help people, because some of the conversations I've had in the DMs, people always ask me questions on things that I've learned with creativity, and I just want a place that I can kind of like talk about helpful things for other creatives and small businesses. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just wanted to talk today. And also I feel like the perception of me online, even though I have a very small audience, but the DMs that I do get, I feel like people have a real disconnect on like who I am and my artwork. And one of my favorite reality TV stars, Dominica Claro, from Maths, the best season of Maths of all time and the best star of Maths of all time, reached out to me, and she likes my work. And that really like sparked something that was like, fuck, like that's wild to me. And I know that she's been going through it with some mental health issues, and she's been open and honest online. I'll share her page down below. And it has just really inspired me. And like the things that really help me in like really dark moments is just like other people just being honest about the reality of their experience. I know that there's artists out there. I just feel like there's a massive gap, especially with British-based artists taking up space online on YouTube and on podcasts. I could be totally wrong. Please leave me your suggestions down below in the comments. But I just think all the podcasts I'm obsessed with and I follow are like US based. I don't know, I meet so amazing people being based in London, and I'm so lucky to be based in London, and I just basically want an excuse to interview them. So I'm bringing the podcast back for that as well. And I think in my 30s, I'm being faced like questions about creativity and struggles with creativity that I've never like faced before. And like new, fresh questions that like I don't necessarily feel like, you know, you're taught when you're young or taught at university. Like, you know, how do you navigate motherhood and being, you know, a creative? Like, how do you navigate, you know, after 10 years of being doing what you're doing, of feeling this sense of like, should I continue doing this or should I try something else? Like, I want to feel like I'm getting a promotion, and like, what do I do when I feel really stuck? Everyone in their 30s is like getting promoted and getting bonuses, and like I'm struggling with the idea of like, well, what is my growth plan? Like, what am I doing? And I think that when you can't find the answer on Google, I think I really want to use this podcast as like a place to kind of like be curious about those questions and like sharing the things I'm finding along the way. I know a bunch of you have liked my YouTube videos before. I'm tempted to just delete everything, because like, especially with so much of my content was with my ex, and I don't like that. Delete it all. Delete it from my brain. No, I'm joking. Lol. No, there's no bad blood and there's no bad vibes. I think so much has changed, and there's so much possibility in my life being single. And yeah, I'm fine. I'm getting out of my depression. That's my focus. My focus right now, I think, with the whole, if I'm going to share like a life update, my focus is like learning to drive. And I'm not going to make a decision about where I'm moving to, because I moved back in with my mum. So I decided to like, through the mess of all my mental health, being like actually quite severely unwell and like really like there on the like edge of, you know, some really scary thoughts and oh yeah, trigger warning. I suppose. And now I feel like I'm coming out of that. I'm just like trying so hard to like be self-compassionate and like not necessarily have like a major plan decided for me already. And I feel like once I'm in a better place with my mental health, I'll be able to kind of make those decisions and know that I'm making those decisions on where I'm living or where I'm moving to based on like, I really want to move here rather than I want to run away from my thoughts and feelings. Focus is learn to drive, and then wherever I move to, it will be easier to move to. And, you know, I'm just a girl in my 30s. unexpectedly single and just navigating life, and also dealing with loneliness with being a freelancer, and also being single. And I think there's like an extra layer of loneliness which has been really, really hard to navigate this year. And part of that has also made me really want to kind of give up being a freelancer illustrator that works on my own. And I don't know whether the loneliness aspect of it is something like I can handle if I'm single. And that makes me sad. But it also means that I think if I was to make significant changes and change that part of my career, I think that could potentially happen. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? I'm just throwing that out there. And yeah, I just wanted to be really honest about that, actually. Like, oh my, is my bra been out this whole time? That's so funny. Yeah, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring back this podcast is because I have been having some really interesting conversations in the DMs about creativity and promotion and like running a business. And one of the first people that kind of like told me like, Natalie, you should have a podcast. I was like, I should bring it back. And was Red Fern, who's an illustrator. I'll link in the captions. And she asked me questions about social media because, well, I have so much to say, but I'll if you have any questions about creativity or any questions about running a business, you can either DM me or I will put my email down in the caption. Just put on the subject line podcast question or something. There'll be info in the caption. I'll read the whole thing because I have a lot to say on everything she said. So she said, you are smashing it at life, Natalie. Do you have any tips for gaining followers organically? Because I'm absolutely pants at it and I haven't gained any really for years. And my response was, have 2 breakups within 4 months and talk about how sad you are online. So obviously that message hit a nerve with me because I haven't been going through, I don't feel like I've been smashing it at life. I've had one of the most difficult, challenging years I've ever had. My mental health hasn't been as bad as it has this year than it has since I was like 15, which was really bad. So, when people say, oh my God, you're smashing it, Natalie, your like followers are growing. I'm like, it's the universe literally breadcrumbing me. It's like, this is what we're going to give to you, but like, here's your little social media. We'll boost that to just like give you enough to keep going in life. I'm like, okay, is that all I'm getting? Okay, so reality is that aside to the fact that my work is great, which I will back, and I will say my illustrations connect with people and people relate to them, and like, they break the feed of people's, people seem to like my work. I like my work, so I get it. Aside from that, the algorithm just likes it when you're in these apps. And being single, I drastically went from like no screen time to 24/7 screen time. And I was just having conversations about my breakup with all my friends in my DMs as well. So like the fact that I was just like in the app on its own, I think that also helped. Like the app was like, she's in the app all the time, we're going to boost her stuff because she is like in our app, right? I don't know how it works for money, but they want you to be in the app for as long as possible. Helps their ads, it's capitalism. You get it. So there's that, the loneliness aspect of it, and being in the app all the time is subject to the fact that I'm single now. Fact is that I have so much work on my Instagram, so many posts, and I was like in the pits of hell, like so sad, so low, so depressed. I could not make any creative work. So for the whole time of this year, pretty much, I have been reposting old work, and people like it. Shocker. And, you know, sometimes I post things, I'm like, this is so old, this is so naff, like my style was so bad here, like this is not my best work. And I'll post it and people will relate to it, resonate with it. One of the posts that was really, really old was like, you are not a machine. And that's gotten like some ridiculous reach, like, what? And I was so close to being like, this is not good, I'm not going to share this. And it's just wild, the reach that's gotten. I think that that's like surpassed some of my most like engaged with stuff, this one. And so it's just like, I'm lucky obviously that I've been in a position that I'm depressed, and I'm like, well, at least I've got like 2,000 illustrations already on Instagram. Let me just go through some of them and repost them. I think it's harder to do if you're just starting out and you're like trying to build your work up and you don't really have so much work to fall back on to share. But I am in a position where I do have a lot of work that I can fall back on to share. So I was able to be consistent. That is literally it, consistency. And for some reason, my posts and engagement and followers have just been skyrocketing. And that's mad to me, because for the last 3-4 years, I have been losing followers. I got really close to, I think, 40k like 4 years ago, and my followers just started to drop. And you know what it was? It was because I was barely on the app. I wasn't posting. I wasn't engaging with people. I started to really withdraw from social media because I was like, I'm in my 30s. I really can't be asked. And you know, I think when I'm really, really happy, and I'm still getting good client work coming in and I'm busy, I feel no need to show up on social media, because I'm like, well, business is good, like there is no correlation. I think that is the biggest thing. I think so many artists and creators think like that these two things are one and the same, and also that if someone's social media is really popping off and doing so well that they're happy, like, are you kidding me? Do you know how sad I was? Yeah, I think people have a massive misunderstanding. My bra just keeps coming out. Just decent. People have a massive misunderstanding that about social media and like what it means. And like, I just find that I know people that have like way more followers than me that struggle to get work. They can't even shift like selling one t-shirt. And I think, yeah, people have a massive misconception of what a great social media following means, what a big social media following can do, and what like good engagement even does. Like, it doesn't even correlate to success. So why are we focusing on it? It doesn't. You know how many rooms I've been in with people that have like 1 million followers that are like, yeah, I tried to sell this t-shirt and I cancelled the campaign because like I couldn't sell one t-shirt. And it's just like, the outsider looking in are like, oh, that person has 1 million followers. I bet they're really happy in life. I bet they love life. I bet they're like making so much money. I bet they like get all the work. I've also been in rooms and like I have a lot of friends from my graphic design experience and background that will like be like, oh, we really want to hire this illustrator, but they have like 1 million followers and like that'd probably be too expensive for us, so we're not going to put them on the pitch for like, and we're not going to get in touch with them. And so I think there's a lot of that. Like, it does hurt people having a big social media following. It does. I know it hurts me because I will have art directors be like, I think you're a real artist anyway. I'm like, I guess that means that because I have a social media following, I'm not considered a real artist. And that is a conversation as well that happens. I know I'm getting so riled up about this. Basically, I'm trying to say that the work and the creative work should always be the priority. I think making work to build a social media following for the sake of what, I think it has to be a really good conversation we have with ourselves. I think that you should really, as an artist, I mean, obviously it completely depends what you want to do. If you want to be a content creator, yes, numbers are literally going to be how you're hired for. Sometimes I'll get work that is like half an illustrator brief and half a content creator brief, and the numbers and the engagement are like such an integral part to the brief and why I got hired. And that's what they want. They want the work to do well on social media. They want the reach to do well. But I think I think more like a traditional kind of creative where it's like, well, what are we saying here should always be the focus, and the illustration or the artwork or what you're trying to say should always take priority. And I think that if you want to be technical about growing on social media, you can, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be like a great artist. Boosh! Does it? No, it doesn't. Does that mean that you're going to get regular client work by like the brands that you want to be hired for? No. Does it mean that you could build an audience and people can like, you can promote your shop and you can self-promote yourself? Yes. I think you have to really be clear about social media and why you're posting. What is your end goal? And I think I struggle sometimes because I don't necessarily think that everything I post online as well is actually benefiting my long-term goal plan. And then I'm like, what is my long-term goal plan? I don't know what it is. So, I think, I struggle when artists are like, oh my God, you're killing it on Instagram. Like, teach me your ways. And it's like, yeah, I can teach you, but don't make the same mistakes I've made. I think, and also don't focus on having a big follower count and like trying to gain followers if you're not actually thinking strategically about like what it's for. Like, are you trying to like anyway, that's just what I'm trying to say. And also I know a lot of people that are very successful artists that have like 200 followers that work with the biggest companies and agencies in the world because their work is amazing, they're professional at what they do, and they're killing it. And I think we have this perception now that like someone's got a big follower like audience and that like means anything. And let me tell you, it does not. I think people obviously unfortunately do use that as a power. Like, oh my God, one of the most disgusting moments I think I've had in my life was I was waiting in a club with a bunch of other like influencers, and it was like everyone started getting their follower account like Instagram up, and I got told to like take out my like Instagram page up to try and get into the club. And I was a bit like, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to be in a room with other people that are like doing that as well. No shade, no tea, but like, why would I want to be in a room for fun that isn't I don't know, I just find that so gross, especially as I've seen that people think that means anything. And I've seen the most disgusting side of things in terms of like the influencer world, where I've had friends that have been like, oh yeah, I bumped into blah blah with this much, like, they have a huge following, and like they were really rude to me, and then I'll be at another event with my friend and this person will like talk to them nicely and be like, oh my God, hi, how are you? And it's like so two-faced, and it's literally only because you've seen them now with me that you're talking to them nicely. Why are people so gross and disgusting? Anyway, I've seen the downsides to all this like following stuff, and I've also seen and heard that people have millions of followers, they don't get regular client work, and it doesn't correlate to success, it doesn't correlate to stability. And I think as an artist and an illustrator, I really want to be like shout to the rooftops about that, because I'm just so frustrated with people having that as like the goal of their creative career, when it shouldn't be. It should be you making the best possible work that you can make and using social media as a tool that will benefit your long-term career goal. And if that is to get client work, then your goal should be to share your best work. And if it is to make shop sales, then that makes more sense to be more of a content creator, because you've got to show, build that trust with an audience. Anyway, top tips for growing on social media: consistency, use all the different app features, like make the reels, make the carousels, try and just show up, be yourself. And I think people like it as well when you show up authentically and you say, like, this is something I'm really struggling with. I really relate to things that are like when people are being vulnerable. I don't even care what their work looks like. If they're showing up and like I'm learning something from them, or they're being vulnerable about their story, like I find it really impactful. So yeah, I think I'm getting the red light battery. I had so many other things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Brat Summer. I wanted to talk about Charlie XCX. I wanted to talk about Remy Wolf's new album, which is coming out tomorrow. I have so much I want to talk about, but I will end this one here. If you have any questions on creativity, like, please pop them in the comments. Yes, I'm so obsessed with Brat Summer. We're going to have the best Hot Girl Brat Summer. I'm feeling really positive about this space. Like, I really want this to be like a back and forth. So if you have any questions about creativity or like mental health or like anything that I've said has resonated with you, please like let me know. I'd love to get an email of a question. But yes, I love you loads. Thank you so much for watching this if you got this far.